Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome one and all. Okay, let me see. Oh, let's see here. Anna Boyd, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you as always for watching Royal Sussex. Okay. So who was here first? Carol Lund, thank you so much. Followed by Lydia Washington, Marcy Foreman, Juanita Quintanilla. Let me see here. Rodney Jackson, Nancy Medeiros, Mary H. Carol Lund. I said that. Lambert Charles, Nithalando Niandini, Des Mapp, and a host of friends and others. How about that? Judy Mutassid is here. MJB. Okay. All right, very good. Thank you all so much for being here. Hello, Noby D. And Dan Speed 1, Joyce Anderson, Black Anonymous, Mink C. Martin. All right, very good, very good. Thank you, Helen Churn, Lady T, Black Queen. Thank you for being here. All right, so let's get on with it. Well, Andrew Pierce, also known as Andrea Fierce, as I pointed out yesterday. Um, you know, I thought that my descriptions where I compared Andrea Fierce, compared Andrew Pierce to Andrea Fierce, um, not to be confused with Mildred Pierce. And I told you all there was something about those what appears to be overpumped cheekbones that kind of freaks me out. What a bizarre looking fellow. But then again, there's quite a few of those about on television in the UK. You know, sometimes I look at some of these people on television here in the US and I'm just like, that's progress. There was a time when they wouldn't let certain people on television, and now there is all humanity on television, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. That shows that we are progressing. And then there's a whole nother story across the pond of some very odd looking people on television. So, how would you describe him? Of course, I have my ideas. Just kind of reminds me of an old 40s film star, right? Well, what's so funny about that is the new description that someone has thrown in there. Um, it's so much more fun than what I said. So it says here Andrew Pierce, a man who looks like a slowly decaying ventriloquist dummy from the 1940s, is under investigation for what it says right there at the Daily Mail. A decaying ventriloquist dummy. I'm like, I see it. Trust me, I see it. And then, of course, to be sure, I had to go and try to find one. And I'm just like, I see it. A decaying ventriloquist dummy. That is funny. That is so funny. So, cheers to the person who made that very funny and accurate description. That is my new favorite thing. It's howdy doody time. It's howdy doody time. It's howdy do to you. Wait, how does that song go? It's howdy doody time. It's howdy doody time. Oh man, I forget the song, but yeah, he does kind of remind me a bit of Howdy Doody. Oh, Gwendolyn Daniels, you just said that too. I just noticed that. Yeah, it is well, both the puppet and the so-called royal reporter, not to be confused with a puppet. Anyway, he's in trouble. He is in trouble, so they say. And of course, it's all alleged. There is no concrete proof. There's just been some allegations, and you know, everybody deserves to have their day under the sun, of course, and everybody deserves to defend themselves in case, for some reason, that the allegations are not true. But couldn't have happened to a nicer, um, what do you call it, royal reporter. So always on Good Morning Britain. He's also a feature on the GB News. So all I can say is, okay, and that's what I have to say. Good luck, you 1940s decaying ventriloquist dummy. All right. And of course, if you look at his Twitter handle is Tory Boy Pierce. Well, you haven't been, anybody's boy for quite some time. You have grown into a very bitter old man, and you're becoming more bitter by the day. This is what he had said at one, what was it, like back in February of 2022, English Rugby will be delighted with their new patron, Duchess of Cambridge, Prince Harry, who used to be patron. Eat your heart out. He's very juvenile, you guys. Very, very juvenile. For someone who is supposed to be a royal reporter, he is very vindictive and vicious. And of course, as he says, Tory boy, he's a bit of a right winger. I don't know what it is about people like that who is, well, what he's accused of does not surprise me. But for someone who's been accused of that they would be such a Tory, such a right winger, is always surprising to me. But then again, when Dan Wooten got in trouble, when Dan Wooten was trying to, I suppose, throw attention off of other things, he went to the deep right as well. So that's a trend. That is a trend. They tend to veer to the right, even though they have pretty much lived their life on the left. They tend to go to the right so that they can find, I suppose, support and shelter, and they can hide in plain sight. So whatever. Not a very nice guy. So, speaking of not a very nice guy, Charles the Third. Um, don't know if you guys have been following it, but apparently, Black Kia is still parked outside the bungalow once occupied by Val Taylor, a retired nursery manager who cared for generations of children in Burnley, but the propriety otherwise looks abandoned. I'm sorry, not propriety, the property looks abandoned. Sorry about that. Windows are coated in dust, grass has grown wild, and the front door is boarded up. For neighbors, it is a reminder of the moment in February last year when police broke in to find the body of the 72-year-old. She had died of a heart attack. It was sometime later that neighbors said officials representing the Royals turned up on their street. The bungalow and all of Taylor's other assets were being transferred to an estate owned by Charles III. Born an only child to parents who had no siblings, Taylor had no known relatives, and one was able to, and no one was able, that is, to locate her will. Isn't that something? No one was able to locate her will. Now, I'm supposing that the person that they're speaking about, if it's in this graphic, maybe the one in the top right, maybe. But I think those photos, those images, that collage of images represents people who died and did not seem to have other relatives, and all of their worldly possessions and their estate and the so-called will that no one could find, um, whatever was in that house was gathered by people representing the crown, and well, representing Charles. Uh, they took the stuff and they left. They took it and probably took ownership of the cottage or whatever. So, hey, Elaine Parker, thank you so much for the super sticker and thank you for being here. It is a messy bit of business. Under the antiquated system of bona vencantia, which I guess is Latin, everything she possessed when she was alive was essentially ownerless if she had died 20 miles away outside of what was once called the Lancashire County Palatine. Her assets would have been claimed by the Treasury. As for the most, as for, I'm sorry, as it is for most Britons who die with no will or next of kin. Exceptions apply to people who die in territories linked to medieval fiefdoms, not fiefdoms, but fiefdoms, same thing, associated with two royal estates, the duchies of Cornwall and Lancaster. And as we know, the Duchy of Cornwall was Charles, but now that he's king, it belongs to William. The Duchy of Lancaster belongs to the sovereign, which is now Charles. They are vast, professionally managed land and property portfolios that exist to raise private income for the heir to the throne and the monarch. The heir, of course, being William, so there's no confusion, and the monarch, Charles, right? For the heir and for the monarch. So let's see here. It says Prince William and his father, the King Charles, right? Both duchies have long claimed that the bona vacantia proceeds they collect from the estates of people such as Taylor are donated to charities. However, the Guardian has revealed that the Duchy of Lancaster has been secretly using the funds to renovate the properties owned by the king and rented out by his duchy for profit. So they're taking that, the assets from those individuals that have died, and they have fixed up properties that they're going to rent out anyway, and they make even more money off of what they've just profited from the dead. It's shocking and it shouldn't happen, said Charlie Briggs, who had known Taylor since she was a child. When told the duchy was spending Bonaventia in this way, it would be okay if the money was going to people who deserved it, but not if it's going to an organization that has plenty, he said. So, again, that is an article from The Guardian. This is like the toughest thing that they've done since all those articles they ran when the Queen died, as though they were trying to push the monarchy into the sea. Another friend of Taylor who asked not to be named said she was completely gobsmacked, and she said that her friend's assets would be used in this manner. It's not ethical, it's not right, she said. More than 80 miles away in Yorkshire is an example of the kind of building the duchy has been refurbishing using the money, standing in contrast to Taylor's boarded up home in Burnley rather. So, yeah, so that's what's been happening. They have been, see, when I heard Dutchy, I thought it was just one area in particular, but like, but I'm looking at the map right here, ancient county, Palatine of Lancashire, and it includes Lancaster, Burnley, Preston, Manchester, and Warrington. Does that mean the city of Manchester? Wow. Wow. Go figure. All of that. And they could do with the money what they will. Yep. Well, the song says God save the king. Looks like the king is doing okay either way. Cat Harlem says the funny thing about the UK rugby team is that Kate became patron in 2022. However, the recent video that they posted included Harry. They also mentioned him in the is it caption? No mentioning of Kate. I kept seeing that video making the rounds, and wasn't sure why it had become popular all of a sudden. So thank you for that, because I did not know that the video was posted by the team. I thought it was just a squatty that posted it, but okay, now that is that is interesting. Thank you so much for the super chat. And now, next time I see that video, I'm going to have to take another look at it, because I wasn't sure why it was trending all of a sudden. But thank you for that. Aha. Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting. So, this is something I did not know. New British monarch lords over 7 palaces, 10 castles, 12 homes, 56 cottages, and 14 ancient ruins where he can hang up his crown. And that is according to Forbes magazine. Now, there was a paywall, so I could not see more than this, but I didn't want to pay for a subscription. I got enough stuff I subscribe to. But yeah, inside King Charles III's 25 billion pound or $1 billion real estate empire. It is a lot. Not all of it, of course, is based in the Duchy of Lancaster. And of course, some of the stuff, a great deal of what he has, is what he purchased or acquired while he was still the Prince of Wales. I mean, just think of it. He's the longest Prince of Wales in history. What was it, 70 years? He was the presumed heir to the throne. And then by, what was it, 1969, was it? He became the Prince of Wales. Now, I don't know when or what age he got access to the Duchy of Cornwall, but for at least 50 years, right? At least 50 years, he's had that income. He's had that huge income for all those years. And that means for, those many years, how many people have died and not had any will that they know of, and their estates have gone pretty much to Charles, to the interests of Charles. Shocking, very shocking. Okay, now let's go with this. Insecure Kate Middleton spends pounds, millions of pounds of public money in PR stunts to promote herself. Not my Princess of Wales. uh, I I saw that on the social media, and well, it's not just Kate. There's William as well with their Royal Foundation and all the other money they have coming in. They are spending a lot of the public's money to promote themselves, to try to make themselves look relevant. It would be so much better to gift um, the money to those agencies than to show up and give a 2-minute speech, because that's about all she has in her. But to give a 2-minute speech about what is it, the shaping of us and the early years and such. Well, the most recent, Kate went to a shelter, or was it? I don't think it was a food bank. No, it was a baby bank. It was a baby bank, someplace where you can get diapers and showed up empty-handed. Showed up empty-handed again. But let's see, where's the other one? A cold-blooded princess attends a baby bank empty-handed. She doesn't care. She takes millions in public money and gives back nothing. So I'm not even sure that this comes from a squatty, but it is what some people have been sharing on social media. I don't believe that this or the other one comes from a squatty, but there is a growing number of people that is fed up with that family and the fact that they just take, and they are being very vocal about it. Like the woman that was heckling Kate that day. I forgot what the occasion was, but she was heckling Kate because she, along with so many other people, well, let's just take it from.
I just don't get it. I don't get any of it.
What do you mean? You don't get what?
I don't get why we're so obsessed with these humans that are exactly the same. Like, it could be us four sitting there. I just don't get it.
But are you talking about what you mean as royals, or as like Kim Kardashian? Because for me, they're becoming celebrities.
Well, yeah, to me, that's all they are.
The Queen
is their celebrity.
For me, is brilliant.
I love the Queen.
No, duty, responsibility.
She's always worked really hard, hasn't
I would
she?
work hard if the whole country paid for me to have like 12 houses and work really hard.
But they don't pay for all of the houses. But
just a few.
Okay. But yes, increasingly people are becoming far more vocal about the greed that seems to be a matter of routine for this family. At least the Queen knew how to appear as frugal as possible. Baron, she came with one book. Really? She had a book? I had no idea. I had no idea. Well, at least she had that. That's better than nothing.
But I just don't get it. I don't get any of it.
What do you mean? You don't get what?
I don't get why we're so obsessed with these humans that are exactly the same. Like, it could be us four sitting there. I just don't get it.
But are you talking about what you mean as royals, or as like Kim Kardashian? Because for me, they're becoming celebrities.
Well, yeah, to me, that's all they are.
The Queen
is their celebrity.
For me, is brilliant.
I love the Queen.
I love the Queen.
Duty, responsibility.
She's always worked really hard.
I love the Queen.
If the whole country paid for me to have like 12 houses and work really hard.
They don't pay for all of the houses. But
just a few.
I love the Queen. What a kiss up. I love the Queen. Oh, she came in there fast with that one. I love the Queen. Anyway, thank you so much, B. Martin, and thank you for watching. Oh, and also you're a member. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so check out Mr. Belvedere. Oh, Didn't mean to do that. How did I do that? Okay, there we go. Check out Mr. Belvedere. I talked about this the other day. Actually, I started about maybe 2 weeks ago, was it? Because I thought it was very disrespectful and careless of Kate to show up wearing what appears to be yoga pants when she's, doing her patronage, right? I thought it was disrespectful. Oh, let's see. Fatima says Kaiser from Celibacy was saying that Kate's new big word was golden thread. And apparently the whole could be summed up. Early years is important, y'all. Okay. Golden thread. Oh, she's learned something new. That's nice. Thank you for sharing that. I'll have to look for it in the future. So take a look here. William, once he returned back to the UK, I think it was a little bit of a PR stunt from Kate to try to, I don't know, I guess she was a little angry or disappointed, and perhaps angry and disappointed because she couldn't go to Singapore. So she decided to do her little stunt where she went and I don't know if you would call those maneuvers or what, but she went and hung out with the soldiers, right? And there she is. Let me see. Where is, is this it? Nope, that's not it. Sorry about that. Who is that said it sounds like I'm playing the Beverly Hills Billy movie music? Nope, that's not it. Oh, you know what? Why don't I just put that? That'll make it easier to find. Oh, okay. I'll just do this
understand
without
that you
the
have
sound.
strong opinions about Kate Middleton's fashion choices and behavior. However,
okay, I'll just do it without the sound. Yeah, so there she is. She's out there petting the pony or whatever, and she's wearing these tight pants. And I realized it's not the first time that's happened. When she wore them before, it wasn't, they weren't as tight, whatever they were, but they were camouflage color. So you didn't really notice it as much. You knew whatever it was tight, but you didn't know that they were athletic pants. These appear very much to be athletic pants, right? So William decides, okay, I have to remind people that I am going to be king, and I have to look like a warrior prince who's going to become a warrior king. So I decided, well, what if William showed up dressed like Kate? What if William showed up dressed like Kate? Can you see how disrespectful that would be? Do you see it? Was I wrong for that? I was just trying to demonstrate to you how ridiculous it would be if William showed up wearing yoga pants. I'm just saying. I'm doing this to make a point. What if William showed up wearing yoga pants? Right? I mean, he could wear fatigues, but why bother? He could just show up wearing yoga pants. Now, which do you prefer? The fatigues or yoga pants? I mean, this is what Kate was supposed to wear. How come William doesn't show up in yoga pants? If it's good enough for Kate, it's good enough for William. You're welcome. You're welcome. Anyway. Hmm. So yeah, I think if it's good enough for Kate, that William should do it too. So the other thing I would like to point out to you that I kind of noticed is that when I went back to look at those photos of William going through the maneuvers with the rest of the manly men soldiers, notice that unlike most of the universal royal service duty that he's doing, I don't think I've seen William smile this much. I don't know when I've seen William smile this much. I mean to tell you, he is he's in hog heaven, ain't he? He just is happy, surrounded by all those rugged men and um, fatigues and helmets and utility belts and gears and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the last time I've seen him this happy was when he went all the way to Poland for a pulled pork sandwich. He hasn't been this happy since the pulled pork sandwich. You see what I mean? I mean to tell you, as pleased as punch, just as happy and smile. Probably got up early that day. You know how lazy he is. Probably even got up early. The only thing that would have made him happier is if he had wore some yoga pants. Other than that, I don't know that I've ever seen William as happy as that. I mean, he's just smiling and grinning from ear to ear. He's smiling like Harry and Meghan came back and promised to do all the work. That's how he's smiling. So let's hear it for the boys. Let's hear it for my baby. Let's hear it for the boys. Judy Matassa says at least the wood was low so he could climb over. Amen, amen. Yeah, wouldn't want him to strain himself. And of course, you could not allow him to be injured. After all, he's the future sovereign. Oh, man. Just smiling, just happy. Just so happy to be out there in all that cool, brisk air with all of those soldiers. Yeah. Anyway, let me move on. Now, look at Charles. This was back in 2018. That was back in 2018. Charles looks like an old basset hound or something. That was back in 2018. Now, they had to special order those gloves for him because they didn't have any gloves that would fit. And they probably had to take like a little shoehorn to get the helmet over his ears. That couldn't have been easy. They had to tuck them ears inside the helmet. Otherwise, the helmet kept sliding up. You know what I mean? So they had to do that just to get the helmet over his ears. And, but yeah, I have not seen these before today, but when I was researching, I came across that. But look at Charles trying to be all hard and all tough and everything. It's weird because you expect to see him in one of those double-breasted suits that he loves to wear. You always expect to see him in a double-breasted pinstripe suit with ducktails. You never expect to see him in anything else unless it's his naval uniform or something. But yeah, in fatigues, that looks strange. Yes, Basset Hound. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. been snooping at my door. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, just snooping at my door. Oh, yes. He is definitely giving you those jowls like an old hound dog. But anyway, one of these days they will realize how ridiculous they look when they dress up like this. And Kate, with that face like thunder, all of a sudden she becomes very animated. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Judy says Charles teeth. Yes, with $1 billion, that is hard to explain, isn't it? You know, when it was the Queen Mother, I'm just like, well, she's from another time and another place, but I don't know that Charles has any excuses. But yeah, that lemonade butter tooth thing. Yeah, the old butter teeth. I don't get that. But thank you so much, Judy, for the super chat. Now, thank you to the squatty who inboxed me with this one. The British Royals have welcomed South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol and his wife Kim Keon Hee to the UK for the 3-day state visit. The Princess of Wales, I think it's safe to say, stole the show in the red cape, layered over a coat dress. The coat dress is a repeat by Catherine Walker, first seen in the Carol service in 2021, but the cape is new and continues to signal that Kate is taking on an elevated style to accompany her new elevated role. Okay, all of that may be true, but notice the length of that coat dress. Notice the length of the coat dress. It appears as though the coat dress with the gigantic bow that she's wearing beneath that red cloak, because the bow is actually part of the coat dress, not the cloak, not the cape. It appears as though she had them shorten it. Yeah, if that is indeed the same dress, then it was shortened, as though she was trying to make a point. It wasn't shortened to even up with the cape. It was shortened to the point where it is well above the knee. So again, the exit from the vehicle was not by chance, it was deliberate. That was a deliberate act. When she exited the vehicle, she deliberately stepped out in a way that I find very disrespectful, not only to Charles, but to the visitors from Korea and so on. That was deliberate. That was deliberate. It has been shortened to the point where it's almost like she's wearing a mini. And so, as someone pointed out, during the time inside when her hair was down, either those are different photos from a different day. You see what I mean? See how her hair is down there? Is something that's not jiving? Or did she just go and buy another dress? And I don't know. I don't know. It's very strange. It is very strange. But when someone emerged from the Bentley, Kate, they were trying to send a message to someone. I don't know who. And that is the same person who pulled that little stunt going to the maneuvers or whatever you call it, wearing those Lululemon yoga pants. I mean, they're so tight. You could even see the complete form of her knee. That's how tight they are. Yeah, that seemed to be quite deliberate. So, um, since I'm a royal reporter, I have to talk about this because that's my duty. I have to bring this up, even though I could give a rat's behind. Still have to talk about it because that's how they do Megan. So same flavor, same flavor. Yes, I exactly. If it was that short, I would have noticed it when she was supposedly on the inside. The difference is her hair is down, and the dress seems suddenly longer.
Reasons Catherine is so popular.
There. Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh man, let me go back. There, you can see it. This was supposed to be the same day. This was supposedly the same day. Red shoes, the dress with the bow, and now her hair is down. There is something very, very strange about that. Uh-huh. Let me see. Two different pictures. Huh, okay. Yes, it's past the calf length. Also, mm, I was going to say when they took the pictures inside, the first lady of Korea, she still had that gray coat on, so there would have been no reason for Kate to take her coat off at that point. Yeah, I'm telling you, if this was Megan, they would have said that Megan had deliberately stepped from the car, and that thing that happened because she was trying to get publicity or pull some kind of stunt. And then they would have said that she went inside and she had a quick change where she changed her hair, she got rid of the hat, and she put on a longer dress, a longer version of the same dress. They would have said that Megan had did that deliberately to take the attention away from everyone else. But in this instance, what do you call it? What do you call it because it's Kate? Oh, she's so magnificent, you know? Yeah. And that's why it's important to remind people that that there has been this gross double standard. They vilify the woman of color, and yet Lady Katie is supposed to be a saint because she emerged from the car and it looked as though she was wearing a mini dress with this big cloak over it. It is still very weird. It seems like they would be the same length or not. And in this case, it's just plain not. But it should have been the same length. They would have been all over Megan if it was different. Yep. Yep, they would have been all over Megan if it was different. Yeah, you could see that look Charles had on his face when she got out the car. Charles was like, "What?" Absolutely. Well, she wanted attention, and that's what she got. She wanted attention, and she got attention. I guess it was just too much about Harry and Meghan. So she and you know, you would think that as husband and wife that there would have been at least some eye contact while they were in the vehicle together. Nothing. They're in the carriage, they wouldn't look at each other. That is startling. Sarah Turner says Kate had 3 red items on. I saw a report she had the one overcloak, the coat dress, and a short dress. Still ridiculous. The coat dress and the short dress. So, but if she had those items, if she had all 3 on, how did we see so much when she got out the car? That is still strange. That is still strange. I think it was just, oh, and by the way, thank you so much for the super chat. I think the whole thing was just designed for the maximum amount of attention. Maybe she spoke to her mother, and her mother's like, look, we got to get these bills paid. You got to draw some more attention so we can pay off these creditors. Oh, man. But William used to like it, though. William used to love when Kate would do that because it happened. It seemed like every time they went out in those first few years, it happened again and again and again. So if William did not like it, it seems like it wouldn't have been happening. But I believe that that it's like a running joke for them. And maybe now William doesn't think it's funny. It's just amazing the Queen could be on the throne for 70 years and we've never seen that much of the Queen by chance, deliberately, or otherwise. And Kate's been in the family for what, 10, 12 years? And is a routine. It's a matter of routine. Okay, so you said when it opens up, you can see she had on a shorter dress. So when the coat dress opens up, you can see she had on a shorter dress. Okay. So she had 3 layers on. And when she stepped out, let's see, she hyperextended her leg. Where's that photo at? There's one where you can see her leg is like tucked completely up on right there. Right there. You can see her leg is tucked completely up under her. You would have thought that she was sitting on her leg before she got out the car. And she's looking straight ahead. She's not in the least bit concerned about how she gets out that car. Not the least bit concerned. So, yeah. Okay. I'll accept she's got 3 layers on. If you guys say it's 3, I accept that. But still, it is rather strange. It is rather strange. And if it was anybody else, of course, meaning Meghan, she would have been vilified, crucified, and referred to as vulgar by people on television, in the print media, digital, social media, all over the place. They would have called her vulgar. But here you have the president of South Korea and the first lady, and Kate jumps out of the car like that, and they celebrate it. I'm telling you, it's a double standard. When Michelle Obama was in the White House, they started getting critical about her showing too much arms. Why is she always showing her arms? What is this arms thing about? Michelle Obama didn't make a big deal about showing her arms. It made her feel the way she wanted to feel. It was the media, the right-wing media, that made a big deal out of it. They vilified her for it. There were women who just honestly celebrated her for being fit enough at her age to show her arms. But when she was vilified, they blamed her and almost accused her of being an exhibitionist of some sort, right? They always do that to women of color. It's always women of color who have no right to do anything that is supposed to have been provocative or showy. But if it's a Kate Middleton, if it's a Melania Trump, then it's okay. Why is it that society, on one hand, infantilize the Black woman's body, and then on the other hand, all they want them to do is cover up or go hide somewhere? And that's not most people. That's not most white people or anybody else for that matter, but a select few of the so-called educated, the elite, the people in the media that seem to go after them because they want them to cover up their brown skin. They want them to hide their brown skin. But an occasion like this, Kate the Magnificent steps from the vehicle, and it's okay because she's the English Rose. I cry foul. That really makes me angry. It really, really makes me angry. It is a gross double standard. Hi, legs. That is a gross, gross double standard. Meghan was, while she was pregnant, Meghan was referred to as vulgar. That hurts. That really, really hurts. They referred to her as vulgar, like she was deliberately trying to upset the queen. Of course, they weaponized the queen. They show pictures of the queen. They find the most pitiful picture of the queen, and then they will pair it up with Meghan, and that's a dog whistle. That is a dog whistle. That is to incite violence against the woman of color. They don't care that something like that can incite violence upon a woman of color. I mean, it's weird enough that you have someone fly all the way to New York and show up at the hotel where Meghan is having a baby shower, right? And this woman in 2019 is wearing a mask a whole year and some months before the global pandemic. Why is she wearing a mask and looking for Meghan on the streets of New York? And it's that kind of attitude, it's that kind of conversation that, as Meghan said, you make people want to hurt me. And they don't care. They just don't care. That is not their concern. If you get hurt because of what we have said or what we have done, oh well. That's what you get for being. And this is celebrated. This is celebrated. It really is a smack in the face. It really is a smack in the face. It is to say, it is othering. I can do this and everyone will applaud. If you do it, you're vulgar. Yep. If you do it, you're vulgar. If I do it, everybody please celebrate. Gather around me and let's have a party. I hate that. I really, really do. Oh well, let me move on. So The endgame author, Omid Scobie, criticizes translated extracts of royal book. Okay, yeah, I guess you can call it a royal book. Thing is, wait a minute, is that out of order? I think it's out of order. Oh, did I put that out of order? Let me see. Yep, I got some slides out of order. Let me figure out what I did here. And give me a second. Hot dog. Done it again. Got my slides out of order. Oh, I see what I did. Oh, yeah, it's not bad. It is not bad. So, that's not bad. I could work with that. Not a problem. Let me see. Mary H says, me too, Baron. Is jealousy and envy of the black woman. Luna C says, you can take the girl off the yacht. Yes. Once a yacht girl, always a yacht girl, right? Let me see here. She lost most of the tone she used to have. She used to do a lot of athletic things. The older we get, she'll be getting the wrinkled pantyhose knee. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me see here. Leopard never changes the spots. All right. Oh, Mystic Toxin says, imagine being layered up heavily and still looking thinner than a piece of paper. Okay. All right. Let me get to this then. So William, you know what's so weird? You guys go ahead and Google what's his name? Oh gosh, what is that guy's name? The Rothschild, the Baron de Rothschild, or doesn't he look like that Rothschild guy? He looks like that Rothschild, the Lord Rothschild. He looks like a combination Lord Rothschild and his uncle, the Duke of Kent. He really does look a lot like the Duke of Kent. He is going to turn into the Duke of Kent. You can see the Duke of Kent is oozing out of his pores. Yeah, that is very much the Duke of Kent in the making. At some point, he's going to be old and shuffling along just like the Duke of Kent. Looks just like him. Looks just like him. Anyway, so Prince William branded a hothead who has used aids to paint brother Harry badly. I agree with that. The author of the bombshell book about the royals ripped into the royals, alleging that William is a hothead company man who is increasingly comfortable with the palace dirty tricks and the courtiers who dreamed them up. Now, of course, this is not coming directly from Omid. We have to remember that. This is not coming directly from Omid. This is what they are saying is in the book. Scobie said William is a hothead company man who is increasingly comfortable with the, well, I don't know if this is a direct translation or not. I'll tell you why in a minute. Increasingly comfortable with palace dirty tricks and the courtiers who dreamed them up. Scobie claimed it is William who, through his loyal aides and press relationships, has painted his younger brother as mentally fragile. The aide said of it that a lot of people don't know or within our industry have known but chosen not to report is just how involved William has been in many of the things that have gone out about his own brother, Scobie claims. Listen, y'all, we already have been saying that in the Sussex squad for the longest, right? We have been saying that in the Sussex squad for the longest. And I don't want to misquote anybody, but I would say it was implied that our two intrepid Sunday morning uh, YouTubers that have retired from it, have taken a long extended leave from it, even they, especially they, were making that link a long time ago, right? It's been known. And hopefully, thanks to Omid's book, I hope that that's part of his book. But even more so, the main thing was Spare and the docuseries. So I'm hoping that Omid's book will complete the picture even further for the average layperson who doesn't get how this is true or how this happened. But we have been knowing for quite some time the individuals that were involved. And also, let's give some credit to the byline for saying out loud and clear what a lot of people in the squad have been saying for several years now is that there seems to have been a connection between Kensington Palace, meaning, of course, William and Kate. There seems to be a very strong connection there. Where's my default photo? There it is right there. There's Jason Knopf right there behind William. Christian Jones, I don't believe he's in this photo. That's Sarah, what's her name there? But yeah, and that's the security lady with the gray on there. I think that's one of the security people. The one that went to, I think she's the one that went on the Oceania tour. But yeah, those are the Kensington Palace staff people. Not everyone is present, but William and Kate, let's start with William because that's the ultimate word, but they implied or they just flat out said, get them. And they did. They maintained a very adversarial culture where it was okay to go after the Sussexes. It was encouraged to go after the Sussexes. None of that information that came out at the time when Harry and Meghan were at Kensington Palace, and even after they left Kensington Palace, all of the leaks, and more leaks. As much as Harry has been affected by the tabloid media, if anybody knows what a leak is and how the leaks happen, he is surely expert at this point. There's no way that Harry is having any uncertainty about where these leaks are coming from. It's coming from his own family. And most likely, the worst culprit of them all, aside from Camilla, is his brother, his own brother, his jealous brother, his brother who was at the Sandringham summit, who made sure, along with his father, that Harry was stripped of just about everything you could think of. Everybody knows William's a hothead. They have written about it for years. And every time they want to make him look decisive and tough, they love to emphasize, they like to highlight the fact that he was incandescent with rage. You only do that if you're trying to bully and intimidate someone. You have to remind them of how cruel you can be. And that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. There's no gray areas. that these people and quite a few others are the source of the problem. You have it's like having a whole company stacked up against 2 employees because of jealousy. Let me see. Okay, let me go here. So Omid Scobie says here, it's been hugely, that is, frustrating watching news sites run stories based on contextless and poorly translated snippets from a French serialization of Endgame, Scobie told BBC News. He expressed disappointment at media reports that he said left readers to believe that this is how the material, much of which is almost unrecognizable from the original English manuscript, appears in the book. Meaning that the same way or maybe even possibly worse, but the same way that they took spare from Spanish, right? They took it from the Spanish language and they translated it to English. And of course, as we know, whenever you translate something, some of the meanings are lost or changed or both. And so the person who translates, they can easily insert their own bias if they like. Or they don't know enough about the language to know that it may have another meaning or several meanings. But what are they going to do? They're probably going to go with whatever sounds most negative. So, in addition to that, it says the author of the forthcoming book about the royal family has urged people to wait until it comes out, saying the media reports were using bad translations and snippets without context. Omid Scobie, a royal commentator, will see his book Endgame, which describes a fight for survival within the royal household, published on Tuesday. Extracts from the book have been published in U.S. And French media, but Scobie said not all of the reported passages were accurate. Whether you like my work or loathe it, all I ask is that if you are reading coverage about what's supposedly inside Endgame, please also read the book itself. Scobie, a former Yahoo News UK royal editor, wrote on X, formerly Twitter. His comments came as several UK newspapers reported what were said to be extracts from the book published this week in Paris Match, which is a magazine, Paris Match, a French magazine. It has been hugely frustrating watching news sites run stories based on contextless and poorly translated snippets from a French serialization of Endgame, Scobie told BBC News. He expressed disappointment at the media reports, and he said left readers to believe that this is how the material, much of which is almost unrecognizable from the original English manuscript, appears in the book. In the UK newspaper, reports said to be based on extracts published in Paris Match. Claims relate to supposed details of conversations between the Duke of Sussex and his father, the King, earlier this year, and the relationship between Prince Harry and his brother, Prince William. Separately, the Sun reports claims about the content of letters exchanged between the King, who was then the Prince of Wales, and the Duchess of Sussex in the wake of her 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey. So, take a look at your comments. This is going to be a mess. Yep. Yeah, they did the same thing with Spare. Okay. Joyce Post says, as I've said, William has been involved in a lot of more stuff than Harry has stated in the book or the docuseries. You know, they may be hesitant to have William talk to someone because of the very sensitive nature of his future. Maybe they're afraid that if people could make a case that the sovereign or the future sovereign is completely bonkers, officially bonkers, that could be problematic for the institution in the future for the firm. Maybe they're afraid of giving a weapon to their enemies. So maybe that's what that's about. I mean, could you imagine if the president of the United States was seeing a psychiatrist? They would definitely use that against them. And since William is a future head of state, maybe they're afraid of that. And who knows? Maybe he is talking to someone and we just don't know it. Oh, well, it is going to be a mess. Omid says here, whether you like my work or loathe it, all I ask is that if you are reading coverage about what's supposedly inside Endgame, please also read the book itself. Incorrect and bad translations, snippets without context, leaks, etc. do not tell the full, accurate story. Thank you. Well, Omid says most of the book is about the royal family, the rest of the royal family, and that only a portion of it is about the Sussexes. He says at the bottom, Google Translate does not make you bilingual. Well, I mean, there's a difference between a translation, and also an interpreter. You know, you have people that translate and you have people that interpret. What is the difference? What is the difference? I mean, when you see those interpreters at the UN, they literally have to listen to one language and convey the meaning of the dialogue in another language for the person that they're doing the interpretation for. And anyone who could speak a second language, that's a major skill right there. Speaking a second language, forming your thoughts and your sentences in a second language is not always necessarily easy, especially if you haven't spoken that second language for a while. So maybe a lot has been lost in translation, as they say. I could believe that. Roy B says, seems as soon as the Queen Elizabeth was interred, any attempt at dignity, royal protocol, and elegance have died with her. Side pieces are running the show. And Hoochie is free and on full display. Oh, Lord. Thank you for that. Thank you. That's a great translation. You have interpreted that extremely well. Yeah. Saved a lot of double talk and a lot of unnecessary words. You cut to the chase. Thank you. Now, the very curious case of Jason Knopf. Jason Knopf. This is mostly for the benefit of the new people to the squad or a reminder to others, but let's talk about Jason Knopf. Oh, okay. Let me see. Is it Mamie? Rick says, I am a translator. It is a tough job, especially doing this simultaneously. You know, I've never, ever translated anything in my life or interpreted anything for the benefit of someone else. But I could just imagine how difficult it can be. I have been somewhat teaching um, English to a couple people, and when they have not been conversational for a while, I can tell that something is slipping. And I mean to tell you, um, one of the individuals speaks English so well you would never know that it was a second language for them, and still they struggle sometimes. So um, a lot can be lost, right? And if you have a bias and you're trying to um, condemn someone, then you might just be clever enough to find a way to use the information against someone like they did with Spare. I think a lot of that was deliberate, and they just had the convenience of pointing, well, it says so right here in Spanish. So, yeah. But thank you for sharing that. And good for you that you can do that. That means you have a very, very good mind, because speaking a second language and trying to form those thoughts and everything, sometimes I imagine it's just easy, and then other times you really have to focus on what you're doing. So um, congratulations for you. That is very cool. Um, So Richard Eden says, spell bank RBS spin doctor Jason Knopf to be Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Harry's new communication secretary, hashtag royal. That was November 21st, 2014. Richard Eden referred to Jason Knopf as a spin doctor. What could possibly go wrong? What was it about Jason Knopf that attracted him, or should I say, that was attractive for them to hire him at Kensington Palace? Whose idea was that to hire Jason Knopf? And then it says right here, there's the RS Locke says, Jason Knopf, who has been employed by Prince William for 7 years, first as Kensington Palace press secretary and then CEO of the Royal Foundation, and now the trustee of the Earthshot Prize, has received Royal Order of Service rendered as whatever that is, quid pro quo. Yeah. So this is how it began with what Richard Eden said, and this is where we are right now. Let me fill in the space between for you. So Jason Knopf, a former royal aide who has worked for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex for 7 years before then, and see, that's not accurate. He did not work for them for 7 years. Has been recognized for his service to the monarchy by being named a lieutenant of the Royal Victorian Order, the RVO. He didn't work for Harry and Meghan for 7 years, right? He started there in 2014. The Sussexes left in 2019. Harry has known him longer than Meghan. Meghan had how long was Meghan in the UK? 18 months? Was it 18 months? Well, she was married into the family for 18 months before they left, I think. Whatever the case may be, she didn't have a relationship with Jason Knopf for 7 years. So, and I recall that Harry had his own press secretary or secretary. Harry had someone else that was his secretary, his aide. There was another guy, I forget his name, but there was someone else that traveled with Harry. It certainly wasn't Jason Knopf. So, who is Jason Knopf and why is he given evidence against Meghan Markle? It's all to do with a leaked letter she sent for her father in 2018. So, if I recall, someone at the firm, possibly Jason, told Meghan that she should write a letter to him. And Meghan, of course, having good sense, realized that the letter might be leaked and made public. So, of course, she wrote it in a way that made the point without saying too much. And then somehow, maybe not to do with Carolyn Graham from the Daily Mail, moving into a house near Thomas Markle, somehow they wound up with the letter, right? And so when Meghan sued over the letter, they tried to say that Jason Knopf was the co-author of the letter. And the reason why is so that Jason Knopf could have had partial ownership or copyright of the letter, because according to English law, if you write someone a letter, the copyright of the content of that letter does not belong to the person that you have written to. It belongs to the author of the letter. So he wanted to insert himself as the co-author. So the letter being leaked would have been okay if he says that it was okay. But of course, when the threat of examination or interview from Meghan's very prestigious law firm kicked in, then all of a sudden, he wasn't the co-author of the letter. But he wanted to imply that he had given permission for the letter to be shared. Now, a reminder to everyone, the entirety of the letter was not shared on the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail only shared a portion of the letter, just enough to make Meghan, or attempt to make Meghan, look bad. Okay? It was not the letter in its entirety, and they didn't have a right to do it. But they were certain that they would be okay, because after all, if they can keep Harry from suing, then they could probably keep Meghan from suing. They're not going to sue because they have to go through the palace law firm, right? Well, it was right until it was wrong, because the Sussexes eventually got their own you-know-what lawyers, and they didn't have to deal with the palace lawyers. And also, remember, the Queen wanted Harry to be able to go after the other tabloids with a lawsuit, and Charles was the one who blocked it because he was a regent in all but name only. I'm just saying, that's my opinion. Charles the regent somehow blocked it. Okay? Harry got the okay from Granny, and somehow Charles and the firm blocked it. So, Jason Knopf, who was a spin doctor for a bank, somehow has come all the way from Texas and joined the Bank of Scotland, among other jobs he had. And now he's working for Kensington Palace because he's such a nice guy. Right? So, if indeed it is implied that the reason that a lot of these things have happened is because William began to lean upon the dirty tricks that some of those people at the palace, not necessarily Jason Knopf, but I'm not saying it wasn't him, among others, that they were dependent upon those dirty tricks to control or destroy or to drive Meghan away from the United Kingdom. And unfortunately for them, they must have misread the room, because, yeah, she did leave, but Harry left with her. That wasn't part of the plan. They thought Harry wouldn't have the guts to go, because what would he possibly do with himself if he's not a part of this family? Well, now we know. So I hope that makes sense. I explained it as best I could, but that seems to be where we are right now and how we got there. Well, let me continue because there's more. So often lurking, that is, that was a Freudian slip, wasn't it? Lurking in the background is Jason Knopf. So they announced their engagement. What was it? I think it was like the day after Thanksgiving 2017. They got married in May of 2018. And from that point on until the Sussexes left by, what was it, January 2020, making their last engagement in March of 2020, they even had to separate the royal households because of all of the contentious and negative nastiness that was going on at Kensington Palace. So they separated the households. It was necessary because the Sussexes couldn't do anything without the constant leaks, especially if they would have known about the cookbook before that information was released. They would have done everything they could to prevent it from happening. But because they didn't have the information, it went off very well. It was a bestseller and everything. But in spite of that, since they couldn't stop the book, they ended up targeting through the what was it, Camilla Tominey? Wasn't that her article where she made the connection between the women and people who could have ties to terror? I mean, it was every dog whistle and every type of racism, a religious intolerance that you could think of. But that is the kind of dirty tricks that they play. That's the kind of dirty tricks they play. So imagine how much more wonderful things the Sussexes could have done, because don't get it wrong, the royal family is a great platform. It's a great place to stage a platform because it can open a lot of doors for you. However, it's not the only way to do things. It is a great way, but it's not the only way. So Meghan was determined to do the type of work she's been doing and would continue to do, and excited to have fallen in love with Harry and to be able to have this built-in platform, this great platform, the Commonwealth with brown people, the kind of people I'm excited to help. And of course, not just brown people, but anybody. But in particular, that was like a little extra added. We can do some things for brown people, poor people, women who are suffering from horrible indignities because of reasons of hygiene and such. You know, I get weird when I have to say it, so, but I'll just put it like that. But all of those things, it's all of the things that she wanted to do. So win-win. I'm in love, I'm married, gonna have a family, and I get to do this work, and so on. But it made other people incredibly jealous. And therefore, she had to go. By hook or crook, we got to get rid of her. And so Harry, of course, at one point told William, "You're starting to sound just like the tabloids." Well, the tabloids and William, that sound that he had may have in some instances been one and the same. I'm convinced that it was all a huge plot. I really do believe that. It was a big plot to drive Meghan out the country, to drive the Sussexes apart, to try to ruin their good thing. When two people are in love and have the ability to work together doing the type of things that they love to do, what could be better? And yet you have all these people in that institution, in the media, and so on, that is trying to destroy them, to prevent them from doing the work that they want to do, and especially that they would get any credit for it. That was too much. That was a bridge too far. So they did everything they could to drive them away. And well, Harry left, and now they don't have either one of them. Just goes to show how stupid they are. That was like a winning proposition for the royal family, and they blew it because of two very lazy people, three if you include Camilla. And Charles, I don't know that he's that lazy, but Charles does have a very fragile ego and doesn't like too much attention taken away from him. So you got all that going on. Four fragile egos. Well, three. I don't know about Camilla. I don't know how fragile she is. I mean, for someone of her yoke to have stuck around with the things that people say about you, she's probably a lot tougher than we give her credit for. But anyway, so that's that. Now, moving on here. Meghan Markle's private message handed over with William's approval, Palace veteran says. Meaning, of course, Dickie Arbiter. Dickie Arbiter, who knows how things work because he used to be the press secretary for the Queen, said that there's no way that that would have happened without approval from the William and Kate. Messages handed over. All of a sudden, Jason Knopf said that he had gotten emails that someone was concerned about Meghan being too aggressive and bullying the staff. The staff was in stress and in peril, I believe, because they were stuck between a bald head and a hard space. They either couldn't do their jobs satisfactory for one side of the family or the other side, for one household or the other household. They're working as a combined household, and everybody knows there was a lot of apathy, anger, and suspicion between Team Sussex and Team Cambridge. And because Team Cambridge are the future sovereign and queen consort, they're not allowed to lose. They're not allowed to look less than. They're not allowed to be second anything. Even if they don't feel like doing something, even if they're not as involved, even if they leave the details to others, whereas the Sussexes like to be involved with their projects from start to finish, that made the other two look really bad. And because they were not pleased, they drove the Sussexes away. So first they separated the household and they moved to Frogmore Cottage, and then eventually they had to flee the country. It's just that simple. It is just that simple. First, they drove them away from the Kensington Palace, and then they drove them out the country. But there was no way that the Sussexes could ever do their work with peace of mind. Their staff would never be able to work with peace of mind as long as the two lazy individuals known as William and Kate were going to look bad. We're going to be, shown up in some way. So let me put it to you like this. You doing your basic job and someone who shows up late, doesn't get involved, makes excuses, take frequent holidays, that's the other side of things. And so them feeling inadequate over things that they wouldn't want to do anyway and couldn't do for the most part was reason enough for hostility toward the two hardworking royals. As Meghan said, I'm going to hit the ground running. I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to it. She was excited. And that made them nervous. And like I said yesterday, our feminists too, you got to go. We're not going to have an intelligent, able-bodied woman walking these hallways. You got to go. And so nothing that they could do would have been good enough. They just had to go. And so there you have William and Kate's Kensington Palace staff accused of briefing the press against Meghan and Harry. Well, we learned about that in Byline. And according to Byline, Christian Jones, whose partner, who they won't name, worked in, PR in some kind of way. But there seems to have been an amount of money that was agreed upon and such, according to the Byline, right? Nothing has been proven that I know of, but it has been alleged that it involves Christian Jones. But, of course, we could never find a photo of Christian Jones in the company of Dan Wooten, who leaked the information about the Sussexes leaving the royal family, right? But just one day out of the blue, Dan Wooten tells a prince of the realm and a princess of the realm, you got 10 days to tell it or I'll do it myself. He was so emboldened by his position, right, as a reporter, as a entertainment reporter turned royal reporter, he was so sure that there was no backlash to face that he literally challenged the Sussexes, you either tell it or I will, right? Could you imagine them going to the Queen or going to Charles and saying, you either tell the story or I'll do it? Could you imagine that? But yet they went to Harry and Meghan, who had become the pariahs of the family, who have been dragged in the media every which way possible up until that point. And he told them, you either tell it or I will. And that was okay. William didn't step in to say, oh, don't do that. That's my brother. Charles didn't step up and say, don't do that. That's my son. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. They were just glad it wasn't them. They were just glad it wasn't them. Lex says, we know Baltimore is very controlling. He told Angela Kelly not to give Meghan a tiara. He probably told the staff that they answered to him and not Harry and Meghan. It is why Kate can't get a secretary. Pathetic. Yes, Kate hasn't had a personal secretary for over a year, and there has been no big deal made about it. Kate lost several people. I think she had hired and lost several people, and now she doesn't have a personal secretary going on a year. It's going on a year. It's over a year. She hasn't had one. If that was the Sussexes, need I say more? They wouldn't stop talking about it. Every time somebody leaves the Archwell, that's all they could talk about. Kate hasn't had a secretary for over a year. Crickets. Thank you, Lex. And of course, as I have said for quite some time, I will say it again. At Kensington Palace, the highest ranking person at Kensington Palace was William. And anybody working at Kensington Palace, if in the absence of Charles, in the absence of the Queen at the time, there was William. That's the pecking order, right? The Queen, Charles, William. While the Sussexes was there, Charles does not frequent Kensington Palace. I don't know that he goes there for anything. William is there. That's William's home. William has the largest apartment at Kensington Palace. And in particular, the staff that works with the two households, William is the last word, not Kate, William. So I would never assume anything less than anybody working there is going to show deference to him, especially if you're working on a project and one of William's people want to know what you're doing, why you're doing, and if you're doing. How do you get out of it? You have to say something. I mean, after all, you work for the royal family, right? And there's a pecking order, right? There's an order of things, so you don't really have a choice. That is why the staff was brought to tears. That is why it was difficult to work there. It wasn't because of Meghan and Harry was bullying them. On the contrary, the bullying was coming from the Cambridges. And the only reason, let's get this timeline right, the only reason why this so-called bullying claims came out was because they did not know what was in the Oprah interview. They had no idea what was in the Oprah interview. So, of course, they love to project, meaning if they accused Harry and Meghan of being the bullies, we know who the bullies actually were or are. We know who the bullies are, but they only did that to try and make sure that whatever the Sussexes say, that we came out with this claim of bullying. Yes, it was 3 days before the Oprah interview, but we were going to say something anyway. That's what they're implying. These are the bullies. These are the bullies. The one who can't keep a secretary and the bald head. Those are the two bullies. That's why they did that. So just in case there's any confusion, let me remind you of the timeline. They came out with the bullying claims to try to blunt whatever came out in the Oprah Winfrey interview. And then from there on, every time the Sussexes said something or did something, what happens? They pull out the bullying claims again. The last time I heard it was Robert Jobson, when Robert Jobson, just out of the blue, tweeted, "Whatever happened to those bullying claims?" It was to distract from something else. I think it was the cash for honors or maybe something to do with that sick old man. But out of the blue, he started asking whatever happened with the investigation. At one point, they said they were going to shelve the investigation. Then they said they were going to look into it again. And then they said they were going to shelve it again. And then they said that the staff, actually, the first thing that happened was the staff said, "Please do not use my name on bullying claims." Whoever's name was on the email, they said, "Please do not involve me." The staff did not want to cooperate with any investigation. That also happened. They did not want to be a part of an investigation. Now, they ought to feel safe to say whatever. I mean, after all, the future king said it's okay. They say, "No, I don't want to be a part of it. Keep my name out of it." What does that tell you when they say, "Keep my name out of it"? They're certainly not afraid of Harry and Meghan. They're not even in the country anymore. And if you want to ensure the ability to have continuous work, all you got to do is throw the Sussexes under the bus. What could be easier? They didn't want to lie. That's what it was. They didn't want to have to lie. They didn't want to have to bear false witness. They're not royal reporters. They're just courtiers, royal aides. They didn't want to have to lie. I'm sure some of them were okay with lying. I mean, after all, somebody said they co-authored a letter. That was an easy one. But the rest of those people, they probably felt as though the Sussexes had been done wrong. I mean, it was reported that there were many tears when they left. That some of the staff people were very upset that they had to leave. But they, like I said, they were stuck between a rock and a hard place. William is going to be king. William's not allowed to fail. William's not allowed to look bad. Kate is going to be queen. Kate is not allowed to look bad. A failure, well, that's part of who she is. Y.M. Joyce says, I think that explained Kate's wigs when you don't have a secretary. And only Nana to turn to for advice. Saying, thank you, Y.M. Droid. And Leg says, Baldy is jealous of Harry and Meghan's story too. Wank's story is that Baldy couldn't get anyone else, and Kate stayed around after multiple dumpings. So romantic. That is so true. It was reported that the alleged breakups were to give some of the more suitable aristocratic brides a crack at some of that William action. And nobody wanted it. There was no takers. Nobody was interested in what William had to offer. They did not like him. They did not want to be a part of that family. No, no, no. You see, Harry, on the other hand, Meghan could see the potential, the greatness in Harry. And because Meghan, has been around famous people and such, it wasn't a big deal for her. She wasn't in awe of any of those people. She didn't ever look at the royal family and feel as though that they were superior. I'm sure that was a problem. And though she may have had a great deal of respect for the Queen and probably Philip and even Charles, everybody put on their pants one leg at a time, just like I do. I'm pretty sure that she wasn't in awe of them because of their titles and positions and such. I either like you or I don't. I either respect you or I don't. So that was that. And William and Kate wanted Meghan to be subservient to them, to be, in awe of them, to make a fuss about their position and such. When they got together, Harry said, you don't curtsy to anybody but my father and my grandmother. That's it. Nobody else. Nobody else in this family deserves that. And I could promise you that Afro Annie, she would curtsy to a foreign dignitary sooner than she would other members of that family. And that was that. So all of that fuss they talk about the protocol and everything, it's very select who actually follows that. Afro Annie does what she wants to do. So again, thank you, Lex, for that. B. Bar Tim says, henceforth, the joint statement from KP with the forged signature. Yes. Thank you for that, reminding us about that. And I think there were several of those, weren't there? And Harry said that they would routinely, have these joint statements that he didn't know anything about. He'd read about it just like we do. Yep. Thank you. Joyce Voss says Harry stated in his book that he and Meghan addressed the bullying charges with a 25-page report to show that the bullying charges were false. Exactly. And of course, the idea that anybody would be vetted about it and have to go on the record and lie is the reason why you don't hear anything else about it. You don't hear anything else about it, because if they ever cross-examined anybody on that staff about the so-called bullying claims, it is only going to hurt William and Kate more so than Harry and Meghan. They would be the ones embarrassed and hurt by it, not the Sussexes. I don't believe that Harry is a liar. I just don't believe that Harry is a liar. I don't believe that Meghan is a liar. You have to be very insecure to lie. And they're not insecure people. They're not insincere people. Wait, what was the last part about that? Oh, yeah. Texas, here are some of the worst incidents in the history. Here's the worst incidents in our state's history. The Texas disaster, that was a little parody that I found. Well, actually, I added a last disaster to the list, and that was the 1947 Texas City disaster, the New London School explosion, the unnamed hurricane in Galveston, 1900, Delta Airlines Flight 191 that crashed in 1985, Central Texas flood, 1921, the Waco tornado, Phillips Petroleum Plant explosion. Jason Knopf was born in Huntsville, 1982. So that was one of the worst things that ever happened in the history of Texas. And I'm going to throw Jason Knopf in there. And by the way, that bottom photo on the right, in case you don't know what's going on there, Jason Knopf brought his grandma to the UK to see his empire. In other words, they were giving access to the royal households on a very personalized tour, thanks to Jason Knopf's connection with the royal family. Again, this is the kid from Huntsville that somehow wound up working as an aide to Prince William, or as I like to say, a co-conspirator. This is Jason Knopf. He submitted the bullying complaints against Meghan Markle. He also passed her private letter to her dad to the tabloids. And as William and Kate's special advisor, he has now been promoted CEO to William and Kate's charity. Well, the only thing that I'm not sure about is the letter. There's a possibility that it may have come from that reporter that was living next door to the Thomas Markle, the Yeti. But either way, he did lie and say he co-authored the letter, and we know that's not true. That would mean that Rachel Meghan Markle, needed that snake, Jason Knopf, to help her write a letter. Meghan, who has a fine university education, required the help of Jason Knopf to write a letter. I have to keep saying it out loud to believe that somebody tried to convince people that Meghan needed, let me enunciate, Jason Knopf to help her write a letter to her daddy. She needed his help because she was too incompetent to write a letter on her own, right? She who studied international government, business, whatever, she who also has a degree in acting, someone who has been quite the wordsmith, a calligrapher, right? She needed Jason Knopf's help to write a letter to her father. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I just had to say it out loud so you could hear it the same way I heard it. He helped her write a letter. Right. Connie Balmer! Hey, Connie Balmer. Or should I say, good morning, Connie Balmer? Wow, you've been here for a while. I didn't even notice. Nice. Nice. That makes things better. Thank you so much. Yeah, he is still working for them. I'm going to get to that too. After serving as Earthshot board member, Royal Foundation CEO, private secretary to Prince William, and helping the Daily Mail take on Meghan Markle in court last year, Jason Knopf has been named a lieutenant of the Royal Victorian Order for his service to the monarchy. For of England's Euro. Oh, okay, I don't need that part. But yeah, so he was named, as I mentioned before. Jason Knopf, Williams' former head of communication and current Earthshot board member, claims to have asked to provide evidence by the Duchess of Sussex in male legal case. Meghan legal team quite rightly pointed out that he was not asked of the sort. So Jason lied and said that Meghan's legal team asked him for input. They asked him, the spawn of Satan, for input. That did not happen. That's a lie. That did not happen. Meghan's legal team did not ask or require or request any help from Jason. Jason did that on his own. And just to remind you, Meghan Markle's private messages handed over with William's approval, palace veteran. So whatever NDA, non-disclosure agreement, that may have been signed or has been signed or whatever, saying that you're not going to badmouth the royal family, the one person who would have made it okay to ignore any such NDA would have been William and Kate. And so even though what's his name, Dickie Arbiter, is usually on the wrong side of history, in this instance, he was quite right to point out, and probably just was talking too much and didn't realize that he was really helping the Sussex's case. But he pointed out that it would not have happened without the consent of William or William and Kate. That is how that happened, is that William said it was okay. So I'm pretty sure that Jason decided to help the Daily Mail on his own. And when he asked William, William said, "Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll okay it." And that's how it happened. Otherwise, why would Jason Knopf, who was supposed to be working for Harry and Meghan, but also William and Kate, why would he volunteer selected emails and offer them to the Daily Mail to help them win the case that was brought against them by Meghan, right? That's loyalty, isn't it? With loyalty like that, who needs a backstabber? Yeah. Act 2 Judas, right? So that was Jason Knopf's thing. That was his contribution. And Dickie Arbiter said it would not have happened but for consent from William and Kate. Meghan Markle private messages handed over with William's approval, Palace veteran. Prince William and Kate Middleton would have authorized an aide to reveal. Now you can understand why they're doing everything they can to make sure that they keep saying Meghan and Harry's mouthpiece. Meghan and Harry's mouthpiece. Omid Scobie is their mouthpiece, so that it seems like there's more bias involved, or some level of bias, that whatever is said is going to be unfair and biased against the royal family, against William and Kate. He has taken target of Kate. He's taken target of William. He's their mouthpiece. There's even people that's saying that the Sussexes have paid him. King Charles to hand New Year's honor to royal aide who called Meghan Markle a bully. Jason Knopf has been made a lieutenant of the Royal Victorian Order, etc., etc. Jason Knopf has been made lieutenant of Royal Victorian Order on the New Year's list, etc., etc. Let me see. I did that one before already, so let me just continue. And there it is. There it is in vivid color, in HD quality color. You can see two old friends just smiling. 7 years of plotting and scheming and conniving has led to this moment. Wow. 7 years of it. Wonder what they were laughing about. It almost makes you sick on the stomach to look at this photo. This, of course, was clearly orchestrated so that anyone whose loyalty is required would have no doubt that they are protected and that they are definitely going to be rewarded, right? And in spite of this, there were still some people who allegedly called Meghan a bully that did not want their names used in any complaints, right? This is the protection that they would have. This is the possible type of reward they would receive. But in spite of that, they did not want to do what Jason Knopf did. They wouldn't go where Jason Knopf has gone. That speaks volumes, if you ask me. That speaks volumes. Chapter and verse. That they did not want to be implicated in any way whatsoever. But there's Jason Knopf, the snake from Huntsville or whatever it is, Texas. There's Jason Knopf from Texas, smiling and grinning and just as entitled and pleased with himself. Jason, Christian, Simon. Jason, Christian, and Simon. We always knew that there was something there. Now, here's the missing link right here. There is Christian Jones and his partner, and there's Dan Wooten. Now, supposedly, they didn't know each other. There was no, but yet at this big party that was thrown at a hotel for Dan Wooten's birthday, there they are. There they are. No connection, though, is it? Who are the Palace for? Jason Knopf, Samantha Cohen, Kristen Jones, Sarah Latham. Now, I don't know what role everybody played directly or indirectly, but I just have my opinions. That's it. I wasn't there. But we in the squad for a long time have been saying certain things, and then all of a sudden, this photo on the left was finally made public thanks to the byline, and it just seems to link quite a few situations together. Byline even implied that money exchanged hands for the convenience. And so Jason Knopf, who went to school with, or went to the same school, we don't know that they were acquainted, but they went to the same school in New Zealand. The kid from Texas wound up in New Zealand before he came to the United Kingdom, right? And just so happens that they both went to the same school, Jason and Dan Wooten, right? They were at the same school at the same time. Small world. Out of the thousands of universities in the industrialized Western world, they just happened to have gone to school together. Never photographed together or anything like that whilst in London that we know of. But yeah, just by chance, huh? The person that accused Megan of being a bully just happens to have gone to school with Dan Wooten, right? And then, of course, there's some other things that Dan Wooten, Jason Knopf, and Kristen Jones have in common. There's some other things that they have in common. Some people suspect that William may have those things in common. Simon, I don't know. But right there, the emails behind the Cash for Leaks affair. Remember, I had made a video about that. The emails behind the Cash for Leaks. So, again, thanks to Byline Investigates, according to Byline, you can draw a straight line from one situation to another, from one accusation to another. There seems to be very little daylight. And so far, they sorry about that. They seems to have been quite accurate. So it should not come as a surprise. Like I said, the Sussex squad has truly been on the case. The Sussex squad has been on the case, has been saying certain things for the longest, and now it has been made public, right? And the byline, everybody's waiting for the next issue to come out. Dan Wooten, well, he's kind of gone into hiding. We don't know where Dan Wooten is. Nobody's seen Dan Wooten. Last we heard, he was fleeing the country. Yep, the last we heard, he was fleeing the country. You know what? Let me get the link for that video. I'm going to share the link for that particular video just in case anybody wants to go back and check it out for reference. But it is based on the Byline article, so I'll just throw it in there. There it is. And now I will add it to the top of the chat. Give me just a second to do that. I'll add it to the top of the chat for your convenience. Okay, there I am. Okay, message is pinned to the top of the chat. All right. Let me continue. I think I'm just about done with this part. Oh, well, um, what a hottie. Meghan Markle's hunky new press secretary sets pulses racing as female fans urge Harry to be careful. Now, while Meghan is heavily pregnant and, you know, definitely should not be stressed out by anything, they run this article. Meghan, likely, this is my opinion of things, because of the atmosphere at Kensington Palace. Meghan invites Christian to lunch since, we're going to be working together. Let's go do lunch. So she invites him to lunch. And this is one of the few occasions when Meghan was papped, when the paparazzi photographed her on the streets of London. How in the world did they know that Meghan was going to a restaurant with Christian Jones, who seems to have some type of acquaintance with Dan Wooten, who I believe at the time was working at the Sun, and of course, the partner of Christian Jones, who seems to be in some type of publicity, something. Um, just so happens that Meghan is photographed while leaving the restaurant, as though somebody was like, if you get over there right now, that very hunky, attractive Christian Jones that Harry should worry about is having lunch with Meghan. Now, as I said, my opinion about that is Meghan likely wanted to get away from that volatile atmosphere of Kensington Palace, where, just in case Christian Jones is a honest broker, he can feel, I guess, more secure to speak his mind, or to at least build a relationship where they can work together and get to know each other, right? It seems like a smart idea. I don't know what the food service was like at Kensington Palace, but let's go have lunch. Let's get away from all of this, right? As an employer, that is something that you do with your team, right? You build a relationship with your team. That's the only thing that's going on. But yet, the tabloids tried to infer that there was something nefarious happening. And what we didn't know at the time, right? But what the tabloids knew at the time is that Christian Jones was in a committed relationship with his boyfriend or husband or whatever the guy is to him, right? As Jason Knopf was in a committed relationship with his boyfriend or partner or whoever he was to him, right? They knew this, but yet they ran this article anyway, so that they could stress out the Duchess of Sussex as much as possible while she's heavily pregnant, so that they can make some case against the Sussexes. Because remember, unbeknownst to the rest of us, William has negotiated some secret deal with one of the tabloids. He's taken $1 million from one of the tabloids, right? And ever since that time, by coincidence, no negative stories about William, no negative stories about Kate. Everything has been Harry and Meghan ever since, right? Everything is Harry and Meghan. What Harry did, what Meghan's done. Nothing about William and Kate. Kate is going to be queen. Kate is going to be a fantastic queen. Kate is working hard. All of the stuff that never was, all of a sudden is. Same with William. What never was, all of a sudden is. So as William and Kate's image was being elevated, the Sussexes were being thrown to the wolves. They were being fed chunk by chunk, limb by limb. They were being fed to the lions. Serendipity? I don't think so. It is all quite deliberate. Okay, yeah. All right. So I was done with that part. That was the last part of it. Just wanted to remind you all about this part of the whole twisted thing, that they were trying to make Megan out to be some type of, I don't even dare say the word, but they were trying to make her out to be immoral in some kind of way. That was what they were drumming up. That was the plan, was to make it seem like Megan somehow was doing something behind Harry's back. And in spite of all I just said, in spite of all of that, and that's just a small part of it, that's just part of what happened. In spite of all of that, you still have people like, oh gosh, who was that the other day that was saying, oh, look at Kate. She's at a state banquet wearing a tiara, and Megan's pining for attention at a hockey game. If only she had stayed longer, because the woman of color is not strong enough and doesn't have the same type of spine as the English rose. If only she had stayed longer. If only she had taken more of this abuse. If only she could have lost another unborn child, she could sit there at that banquet wearing a tiara that nobody has seen in 90 years. How come she couldn't do it? How come she wouldn't just stay and let us continue to ravage her? That's what they're implying, is that if she had stayed, right, and in spite of the plot with this, oh, Harry better be careful. Look at this Christian Jones. He's a hottie. How much more were they supposed to do? How much more were they supposed to get away with? And then we find out that his own brother is looking the other way, if not actively participating in it. His own brother. I mean, I love to remind people how awful Meghan's father is, but what about Harry's brother? What about Harry's father? Harry's brother, Harry's father. Meghan's brother, Meghan's sister, Meghan's father. Harry's stepmother. That's what, 6 people, at least 6 people, 3 on each side of the family. 3 on each side of the family. Okay, let me see. Joyce Post, I'll let you have the last word about this one. The whole situation with Harry and Meghan is so sad, and they were surrounded by vipers and snakes. Thank God she got out of there. How Harry managed for 30 some years is a good question. It's a really good question. I think Harry was just so numb to it. I think Harry had just kind of accepted that it's just the way things are, right? Like anybody else that's going through Stockholm syndrome or whatever other type of gaslighting and constant lies and such, he had just accepted that's the way things are because his brother is going to be king. And I guess the only thing that helped him stay focused on anything is the fact that at least I don't have to be king. Maybe that's the only thing that kept him together mentally, is that he knew that once William became king, that a lot of that pressure, would likely be off of him, or at least until William's kids were old enough to do the work, then maybe they would leave him alone, right? So maybe that's the only thing that helped him maintain was the fact that he didn't have to do it. Although he's doing most of the work, although he's the very kind and gentle face of the family, more popular than the queen, it wasn't as though he wasn't working hard, but at least he didn't have to be king. That's William's problem, not mine. Okay, so take a look at this. This is the official 75th birthday portrait of Charles III. One of them. There's another one where he's sitting in a blue chair wearing a blue suit. But this is the one that they gave to the magazine, that Homeless Street People magazine. This is the one that they gave them to put on their cover. And of course, the very highly stylized black and white photo with its silver tones is very reminiscent of Harry and Meghan, who seems to have brought black and white photography back to the royal family. Nobody was doing that until Harry and Meghan. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's got black and white photos. I'm not even going to show you the ones that William took. You've probably seen them already, but there you go. Even Charles is getting in on it. Now, I'm going to do this one very quick. Princess Anne, right here, says, Princess Royale persuaded King to evict the Sussexes from Frogmore Cottage. I don't believe it. I just don't. Even if that's in the book, I don't believe it. They're saying that that's in, I believe they said that was in the book from Omid Scobie. I don't believe it. That's it. I have nothing else to add to it. I just don't believe it. I think that the relationship between Anne and Harry has been very cordial. There's a mutual affection there. And while Harry doesn't really speak about Anne that much, I think they're okay with each other. And I just couldn't see that happening. I might be wrong, but I just don't see it happening. And then there's this exclusive. Meghan wrote to King over racism concerns. Revelations come after Duchess of Sussex confirms she will not come to Britain for Charles' coronation. Well, we knew that the letters were that they had communicated through letter, that she had wrote a letter to Charles, right? That was big news last year. Meghan Markle told King Charles about royal racism. So she says that the king, that the Queen and Philip definitely were not the ones. But it's been said that there were two people in the family that said something about the baby's color. Now, what really upsets me is that I hear Black people say, well, people asked me that before. We always ask each other that, and I don't see what's wrong with it. So now, of course, the tabloid media, the gaslighters, the dog whistlers, now they're saying that it's not a big deal. People of color say, I get that. I believe that that's true. But when you are in an institution that seems to be the standard bearer for a lot of things that's wrong with the Western industrialized world, that the royal family, which seems to be at the top of the pyramid of white nationalism rather, alt-right, white right-wingism and all the other stuff, that royal family that, people have been saying for a long time is very racist. If you're a person of color that has entered that family, a family who has seen your child depicted by a chimpanzee and nobody has said anything, the same family that has welcomed you with a blackamoor brooch and nobody has said anything. That family. And then next thing you know, what color is your child going to be and how is that going to look? And by the way, they won't receive titles. Everything about that is othering to me. And I cannot help but believe that it was meant in the worst possible context that you could imagine. It was meant to upset Harry. And I've already said the one person that I could think of who would say something like that in order to upset Harry, to make him feel uncomfortable, to make him feel like I have to get my mixed race children out of this country. The one person who's capable of doing that is his brother. The one person who could upset him enough is his brother and possibly his sister-in-law. So, yes, it's upsetting. If I was moving into that or marrying into a family and somebody said something to me about skin tone, I don't care what it's about. I take that as a threat. That's a threat to me. If a stranger asks me that question, fine. But I don't expect to hear that from a family that already has made me feel unwelcome, that also have said nothing when someone has been obviously racist and nobody said anything. You could defend mumbles about Botox, but you won't say anything about me and my child being compared to a chimpanzee. You're letting people know that that's okay. By saying nothing, you're saying that's okay. And then you ask me about how dark do you think the baby will be? And how will that look? And by the way, they won't get any titles. That's a bad start right there. That's a non-starter. That tells me that I got to get my kids out of here. That's what that tells me. I got to get my kids out of here. If somebody could take a 9-iron to the future Prince of Wales' forehead, I got to get my kids out of here. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. I got to get my kids out of here. Let me see. Harry and Meghan author cruel attack on Kate. Writer branded the Sussex's mouthpiece by Princess is too terrified to do anything but grinning photo ops. Says Princess is too terrified to do anything. Well, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with that. I'm trying to figure out where if he said that, I'm trying to figure out where he's gotten anything wrong. And why are they blaming Harry and Meghan or implying that Harry and Meghan are the ones who's saying that when everybody knows that I have been saying it, most of the Sussex squad has been saying it. A lot of people have been saying it, but not Harry and Meghan. They're too nice. They're sweet. Me, on the other hand, oh, well, I don't see nothing wrong with that. Best to stick to the truth. And, oh, you know what? That was it. That was the last slide. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, but that was the last slide. Yeah, those were the last ones. So, oh my God, 2.5 hours. I promise you, is there something wrong with this thing? I looked a little while ago and it said an hour. And an hour and a half has gone by and I have no recollection of it. I don't know where the time has gone. I'm glad that that was the last slide. Good grief. How does this keep happening? Well, you know what, Lydia? I'm definitely going to get the book. I want to see what's in it. I do. I really do. Because they're working so hard to discredit the book. They're working so hard to discredit the book. It makes you wonder what's in it. And we won't get an accurate interpretation or whatever. We're not going to get any accurate information about the book unless we look at it ourselves. Now, if people are not inclined to get it, fine. But I don't think you can I don't think you can trust the media to tell you what's in it. I mean, least of all, you can't trust them. So if you're the least bit curious, I say get the book. If not, then you just have to go off of what everyone else is saying. So, yep, that's my opinion. Let me see. Yeah, Omid has a pretty good voice. If there's an audio, I bet you it'd be pretty nice because Omid has a good voice. He speaks very, very clearly. Well, I mean, it's a matter of opinion whether or not the book is accurate and a good read or whatever, but they seem to be awfully worried about it. And I think by throwing Harry and Meghan into the conversation repeatedly and accusing him of targeting the family on behalf of Harry and Meghan, I mean, if they're trying to sell the book, then they're doing a good job. If they're trying to prevent people from looking at the book, I think they're doing a terrible job. And Robert Jobson has endorsed it. He said, I hope he sells boatloads of it. Yeah, The Crown is a waste of time. The Crown is a waste of time. I was very, very turned off with the way they depicted Princess Diana, especially the ghost of Diana. That was just sick. Oh, that was sick. The ghost of Diana. Diana giving forgiving Charles and forgiving the Queen and forgiving everybody, and oh, you did the best you knew how. Oh, you won't feel awful for long. You'll get over it. That will pass. All that kind of stuff. I'm just like, she's sitting on the plane. Her body's in the back of the plane. Her spirit is in the front of the plane telling Charles, it'll pass. It'll pass. You'll feel better. Don't worry about what you did to me. You'll feel better. Okay, well, you guys, that is that. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope that this has been informative to people who may not have known as much about what has transpired up until now. But that is the best to my recollection of how we got here. And still, there's so much more. And of course, to fill in a lot of those blanks, I'm going to tell you, if you have not subscribed to Petal of Facts and 2 Cents, Petal is so good at filling in those blanks. I mean to tell you, she's just amazing. So that is always very helpful. All right. So thank you, Anna Boyd, Elaine Parker, Kat Harlem, B. Martim, Judy Matacit, Sarah Turner, Legs, YM Droid, Legs, and B Martim, thank you so much for the super chats and the super stickers. Thank you all who have the Royal Sussex membership. And thank you very much, moderators, for continuing to keep this a very safe space for the Sussex squad. And also, thanks for the comments, everyone. Without your comments, wouldn't be much of a live. So thank you so much for that. We learn a lot from the comments. So that's a good thing. Let me see what else. I think that's it. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover. And I'll get my info about Omid Scobie's book from Positive Sussex Channels. Not buying the book. I got my info, the truth, from Harry Spare. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that is the best resource is Spare. Definitely. That will always be the best resource. I guess what I'm really feeling is I'm just anxious to see some of the other family members get dragged is all. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some shade and some dragging of the rest of that family, in particular those of Kensington Palace. That's what I'm looking for. Charles, Camilla, yes, please drag Camilla. Charles, I'm kind of neutral about him at the moment, but Camilla, please, drag. That's what I'm looking forward to. I would love for some more truth bombs that are not coming from the Sussexes, but from someone else that has to do with all of this stuff. Lizette Zog, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you for being a member of Royal Sussex. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm hoping that some more truth bombs will come out. Not just opinions, but truth bombs. I think the more that, at least is my hope, that the more people learn about it, the more it will fortify the Sussex's position. That's what I'm looking forward to. Is just to fortify their position, because there's a lot of damage that is done when you have a cartoon that makes fun of them, or you have the occasional mishap that they could capitalize on to try to make them seem as though they're inconsistent, or that they're lying, or that they're ill-informed, or that they were lazy, and those kind of things. I just want as much to counter those narratives as possible. And if there's a chance that Omid's book could help push further in that direction, I'm all for it. Now, there's always the risk that it could make a bad situation worse, right? There's always that risk that because already they're doing the best that they can to accuse the Sussexes of paying him and all that kind of stuff. So it's not without risk, but I'm just hopeful that it will help to reinforce what's already out there. Oh, what's that? Was the one when Archie was born was already home from the hospital. Told the media that Meghan was in labor. When Harry asked why she did that, she said, "For drama. They love drama." Oh, now see, I hadn't heard that before. I hadn't heard that before. Let me see. I think Omid's book will focus more on the members of the family than Harry and Meghan. We know their story from their own lips, but we really don't know much about the others. Yeah, well, and Omid has firsthand knowledge dating back to what, 20 years now? Almost 20 years. He has firsthand knowledge of the royal rota and certain things to do with the royal family. He's heard conversations about the royal family. And I believe that if you're drinking, if you're going out for drinks with other royal reporters, the stuff that they won't report, you are going to hear parts of those conversations. So Omid know things, and I'm sure not everything he knows is going to go in that book. But yeah, anything that will help to reinforce what Harry has already said, and if we can get some truths that we don't know, has nothing to do with the Sussexes, that's a good thing. That's a good thing because for the most part, we're getting the story that the palace wants told. We're getting their version about almost everything. I think the only other person, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but there's a lot of stuff that what's her name? Um, Lady C. Lady C has said some really wacky things about the family. I don't know if they're true or not, but I would love, I would love for Lady C to drag that family, but she doesn't do it because she's making her money dragging the Sussexes. That's why she doesn't say anything else about them. Um, but wasn't she the one who accused the Queen's mother of being illegitimate, of being born to a French chef or cook? So she's not beyond that stuff herself. She's the one who opened up her mouth and said the Queen had a malady of the bone. Remember that? She had a malady of the bone. In other words, she had bone cancer. Is that what you're saying? Lady C dropped that one. I mean, she's a gossip. She is a gossip. If she ever stopped messing with the Sussexes and started in on the rest of that family, she could really make some money. I mean, to tell you, there is money to be made if she would just drag that family. She could really make some money. One of these days, the truth is going to come out. The truth is going to come out. Invisible contract or not, it's going to come out and it's going to get ugly. It is going to get really ugly, and it's not going to have anything to do with Harry and Meghan. And I, for one, am here for it. I am here for it. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But, she embellishes a lot. You really can't believe everything she says. But um, I don't care about where she's come from or what she's done. I just want her to keep the Sussex's name out of her mouth and start dragging the rest of that family. Oh, was it Kitty Kelly? Don't make me a fan. Please don't make me a fan of Kitty Kelly. Wow, that's interesting. Well, that's interesting. Yes, Adrian, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Omid, Omid knows a lot. Omid knows a lot. Omid knows a lot. He does. He knows a lot of stuff. Omid and Lady C. Lady C knows a lot. Yeah, Lady C is a bit of a flim-flammer, but she knows a lot of stuff too. Lady C, she's not really in those circles, but she's she's privileged to some information, I'm sure. I mean, she's a big gossip, and I could never fully trust her, but if she's dragging that family, I'm here for it. But somebody is going to have to start the conversation because they're getting away with a lot. They are getting away with a lot. They have gotten away with a lot. They have rewritten the story about Princess Diana time and time again, right? Almost to the point where it's hard to recognize. Just think of the people that were not alive when Diana was, that are being misled by the royal rota, because they all write books about the royal family, and they lie. They're just plain lying. Yeah, and if Pierce Morgan ever turned, oh my goodness, if Pierce Morgan ever turned on that family, there's a few of them, if they ever turned, if they ever decided to tell the truth, if they drop this pretense, if they ever do that, it would be hell to tell the captain. Yep, if they ever decided to do that, it would be hell to tell the captain. I mean, it's so cliche when people say it could mean the end of the monarchy. Well, it would mean the end of it as we know it. There'll always be a monarchy, even if they're not receiving public money. That family will be there. There will always be people that are going to revere them and pine for the old days and all that kind of stuff. But that they get 350 million pounds of public money, that may stop. That may stop. Was it about 100 years ago when the landed gentry all of a sudden had to pay taxes and lost their vast country estates and such? That was only 100 years ago. And maybe in the next 100 years, there will be another wave of pain and suffering for the aristocracy, but this time more of it will happen to the royal family, to a degree where they'll start losing things, vast amounts of things, and privilege. I mean, in the modern world, there's just no justification for the British royal family living the lifestyle that they do. There's no justification for it. There's no way that you could make sense out of their lifestyles. William is not wrapped too tight, and yet he's going to be sovereign. Charles, this temperamental, emotional, shady person he is, and he's the sovereign. You just can't justify it. The queen is from another time, right? The queen comes from a whole nother time and place. But in the modern age, there's going to be fewer people that's okay with this. Yeah. Yeah. You know, Adrian, I'm, I'm sorry. Well, yeah. And it's one of those things where if I was a newbie and everybody's laughing and listening to these phone conversations, the first thing I would think is, wow, is that legal? The next thing I would think is, should we be doing this? Is this okay? And for Omid, being a minority in a group of people like that, you always have that thought in your head that right now is this person. Who's to say they're not going to turn on me? Let me tell you, as a black person, that's always what I'm thinking is if you do that to them, what would you do to me? So there's been enough people to remind Omid, you're not one of us. And he knows what that feels like. Omid knows what it's like to be othered. So where Omid is concerned with Megan, I'm pretty sure he's sincere. I'm very sure he's sincere. But at the same time, he is a road reporter. He has been in those spaces, right? And that is how he's made money, is from being in those spaces doing that type of work. So the question is, how far is he willing to go to tell the truth? Everybody has the limit. I mean, he's still a subject of the monarch. He still lives in that country. That's his home. How far is he willing to go? That's the question, is how far can you go? How much can you stomach? What's your limit? Connie Balmer, thank you so much for the super sticker. It does make you wonder, doesn't it? It does make you wonder why, what's in the book? What's bothering you about this book? Is it the Sussexes or is it the other stuff that he's talking about? And knowing the royal family, knowing the firm, just like with the Oprah interview, maybe they're overreacting because they just don't know. You know what I mean? They overreacted with the Oprah interview and accused Megan of being the bully. Now they're overreacting with this book and accusing Omid of being the Sussex mouthpiece. When they don't know, they just start lashing out. They try to create an expectation. Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're playing the expectation game. Until they know better, better to keep punching than to lower your guard. Yeah, that's what I think. They don't know exactly what's what. And so to make sure, they'll just keep this distraction going. Okay, so once again, it is going on 3 hours and I'm fixing to go, you guys. I don't know how this keeps happening, but I said that we're going to slowly get this down to an hour only. And we even got an hour the other day. And this is the second day that we've gone 3 hours. So I am about to pull a plug on this. All the best to you. Thank you all so much for being. Let me see here. Official Lauren Brown, just saying hi to Squatties and curious to read it. Thank you so much, Lauren Brown. I am super curious too. I can't wait because I feel like there's something they don't want us to see. And I'm just hoping that there'll be some good material that drags that family and that awful brother and sister-in-law. I am hoping for that. I am hoping. I'm hoping that there's enough truth bombs that it reinforces everything that we've learned from Spare and from the docuseries and from the Oprah interview and so on. That's what I'm hoping for, is that there will be more extra added information that will reinforce, that will uphold and affirm, and so on and etc. So hoping for that. Yes, that's what I'm hoping for. So again, thank you all very much. Love you guys. I will see you all tomorrow. And our last word of the day is I'm not sure. Well, I did say that if there was something important, then we'll just make it do what it do. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I looked, it said that it was an hour and 1 minute. I look again, it was 2.5 hours. I don't know what happened. That was so strange. Yes, there you go. Perfect. Everyone, please stay safe. Pray, don't peg, and hydrate. Perfect. Thank you, Cookies and Cream. Thank you, everyone. Love you guys. I will see you all tomorrow. Let's hope that there is some new picks of our faves. I'm always looking forward to that. But if not, I don't know. I'm still thinking there's going to be something for Christmas. There's going to be something for Christmas. At least I hope there is. And that we'll have that to crash the internet. Okay. Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. And cue the, you know what? I'm going to do Once Upon a Time. I love Once Upon a Time. I love Once Upon a Time. You know how much I love Once Upon a Time.